On today's episode of SoCalFlyTying, it's On the Vise Fly Talk with Todd Suttle. Today's topic, all about them midges. Okay, I'm here with Todd Suttle of the Calico Syndicate, here to talk about not calico flies. You know, kind of funny about that. We're going to talk today about midges. Basically, a lot smaller than a calico fly. So, hey Todd, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Should be a good discussion on midges. I look forward to it. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring out the vise and we'll go ahead and put away the beverages. So, we're going to start off with a little pattern here. So I'm going to put that in the vise here and let Todd explain what we have in the vise.
All right, cool. So this is a blood midge. This is probably the fly that I start out with first on most mornings at Crawley or any of the other lakes that we stillwater fish. We're going to talk about midges, and just real quickly, midging is just basically we are suspending immature flies at a certain depth. We're hanging them under a strike indicator and really focusing on the depth of the fly, the size of the fly, and the color of the fly. And the fly, like I said, is just going to be suspended right in some kind of stillwater environment, waiting for a trout to come along and eat it.
Yep, cool.
So blood midge, one of the reasons we start with that in the morning is that red color for the midge larva is very common. I tend to tie mine with a little peacock collar. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I really like the... I just think peacock is one of those materials that tends to attract a lot of attention.
I mean, it really sets it off. I mean, it looks, you have that red body and that kind of that beautiful peacock. It does set off the fly, so it does look cool.
And then I just tie a little bit of a crystal flash tail on there, which can represent several things. And there's some mornings that if I'm not getting bit, I'll just yank it right off. You can't add it on the water, but you could always yank it off.
And that's what kind of crystal flash? That's the midge, or is that the larger size?
That is midge flash. It's just your standard midge flash.
Here's a little bit here. Midge flash is kind of a cool material. It's not as thick as the other crystal flash and makes great midge tails.
Yeah, just a little smaller profile, and the actual shimmer of it is a little bit finer than your standard crystal flash.
So that red, what is in that red you got going on in this midge?
So this particular fly is one of the midges that I tie with this hairline product called micro tubing. So there's different sizes of this tubing. There's actually a size called midge tubing, which is a size bigger than the micro. I like the micro for this because you want to keep that body nice and slender. And as you're tying the midge tubing, you could stretch it and really keep a nice slender body.
And then that hook seems to be a little longer, elongated hook. What kind of hook is that?
Yeah, that is the Tiemco 200R hook, and I use that. I try to tie some of my midges on this hook. I do tie a lot of my other midges on scud hooks as well, but the blood midge in particular, I think doesn't really have a taper to it. It keeps that slender profile, and it's a little elongated, which I like for the blood midge in the morning.
Nice. So, nice blood midge. I definitely fish this midge. I think it's a great looking midge. But let's just say, so we've got mid-morning now, and what are we going to use now, Todd?
All right, so from there, at that point, once the blood midge stops getting bit, I'll usually go to some kind of darker fly, mostly a black body, which is just black thread. At this point, I'm not using the midge tubing anymore. I tend to use regular thread.
And you're using what kind of thread here?
So I use, for the black, I like to use this, the UTC 70. See if you can see that there.
Yeah, there it is.
The UTC 70 black. I like the UTC because it's got a nice shimmer to it. It's like a very fine floss, so it is a fragile thread. So it's important that you coat it at the end, which we'll talk about. And then the wire on this one is actually, since this is a size 18, the bead size I use for my 18 is a 5/64. I don't use tungsten unless I'm on my top fly I do. But this is just your standard brass bead, and then that would be extra small wire. So this is also the UTC wire, extra small in red.
Got it. And then that hook looks kind of cool. It looks kind of like a huge big U in the vise. Looks a lot different from other midge hooks. What kind of hook is this?
Yeah, I've gone through a progression of midge hooks, and this is definitely the last couple of years the one that I like the most. This is the TMC 2499 SPBL. SP standing for super point, BL meaning that it's barbless. The fact that it's barbless doesn't really matter to me too much. I don't mind pinching a barb down, but you can really see that super point on there.
You can see it right there.
A really sharp point. And then the wide gape of this hook, I really think helps you keep the fish on. You're fishing barbless flies almost all the time, and that wide gape just gives you a little bit more hooking power to keep the fish on while you're fighting it. So it's a great hook.
Yeah.
They are a little more expensive than your standard scud hook, but well worth it in my opinion.
So this is basically, you can see it has a different profile, right, than the blood midge. It has like a bigger head, tapered body, and essentially is just thread with wire. So now we got this this midge. I mean, do you change your midges, or is this basically just the style you use? Are you just going to go ahead and stay with this? Do you have a different style that you like to use?
Yeah, I'm gonna fish this one for, as long, if it's getting bit, I'm gonna keep. Black's a great color in the water, and a lot of times I won't. The black body is a really good color. A lot of times I'll change from this to, if it's not getting bit, I might go to a black with a copper rib. It seems like a small little adjustment. Really, everything's the same on this except for the ribbing is copper instead of red. But a lot of times that will. That'll work. The fish, the red's turning them off, and so we go to the copper.
Okay.
And then from there, if I'm still not getting bit, or I feel like other people are catching more fish around me, or whatever it may be, I might start lightening up the body. And one of the really good colors I like to go to is a grizzly midge. One of my friends gave me one of these, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's a really good fly. It's kind of a grayish black body, and we use this red dyed peacock curl, which works really well. So that might be something I go to. And at this point, I'm just, if I'm catching fish, I'm sticking with it. But a lot of times fish, because of the light will change during the day, all of a sudden the gray doesn't work anymore. And so I'll go to something different. I'm changing size, I'm changing depth, and I'm changing color constantly if I'm not getting bit.
Gotcha. So this is basically now afternoon, you're changing to a lighter color. It's maybe more sun's out. So what might you go, maybe if the grizzly is not doing it, which most of the time, to tell you the truth, it actually does do it. So
yeah, so the grizzly, if it doesn't work, a lot of times I like to go to this gray body with a blue rib. Now, ultimately, I would love to have this wire in extra small, but the UTC doesn't make it, and there is an old peacock blue wire that used to come in extra fine that's not made anymore, unfortunately. So, but you can see, in my opinion, the rib's a little big for this fly, but it's all I have that's blue. And I read a very good magazine article some time back that talks about blue being a great winter color. So when the water's colder, in the fall or the winter, that blue sometimes will really trigger the bite. So this is just a standard gray midge with a blue rib and a black bead.
And what I'm looking at here, I can see that really kind of, you talked about a little bit, that sheen. So what are you using to set these off in terms of that sheen, and protecting also the materials, your thread, and also making sure these flies don't fall apart after that first fish? So
this particular thread is a UTC again, the UTC 70, and the color is blue dun on this one. And so anytime I use UTC, anytime I use any thread bodies, I like to use Zap-A-Gap at the end. Different people, get a good look at it there. Some people like to use super glue. Zap-A-Gap is kind of like a super glue, but super glue, when you soak it in the water, it tends to get a little milky and cloudy, and it messes up the color, in my opinion. Sally Hansen's is a great product, but it doesn't last very long. It keeps that nice shine on there, but after an hour in the water, it tends to come off. So this Zap-A-Gap has the shine that I like, and it doesn't get milky like your normal super glue. So
Gotcha.
I usually drop a little bit on the bodkin and just coat the fly with it, and then put it on my wheel for a few minutes and let it turn.
Nice. And I definitely think Zap-A-Gap is a definitely good material, or good a glue to use as well. So let's just show a few other ones you'd like to use here.
So at this point of the day, if things, if I feel like I'm not getting bit enough, or if I just want to keep changing things, I'm just going for maybe searching for that thing that's going to get you more bites. And so this is a snow cone fly.
Snow cone's kind of cool.
Typically a white bead. Sometimes that'll be the trigger. Some guys put little hot spots on there too with little colors of paint. Oftentimes that's another option. But this is just your black body, red wire, red rib. It's got a little crystal shuck on there, that midge tubing, and then the white bead. From here, I might go to purple's a pretty good color. We have Adam ties a husky midge with a purple body and a gold rib, which I like. This is another variation I came up with a little while ago. I call it the Metro Midge. Really, all you're changing is color, so they're not different flies. It's just funny names to describe the color. So this is a Metro Midge, kind of a flashy little exotic purple body, hot pink wire, and a gold bead.
So you want to show the wire here, Todd?
Yeah, so there's the wire. It's actually fluorescent pink. And again, I wish UTC made this in extra small, because I think it would fit this fly and size better, but they don't. But sometimes that fluorescent pink instead of the red will get you the reaction that you want.
Yeah. So again, Todd's just changing the color and changing the beads and all those different things. But really, it's coming down to what, Todd? It's coming down to basically just matching those colors and just changing them up and trying to find what the fish wants to eat, right?
Absolutely. Well, when you're talking about midge fishing in general, we talk about calico fishing a lot. So when you're calico fishing, you're throwing something like this, right?
So
which could
let me get a big out of there. There you go.
Which is basically could eat your midge.
So here's just a big, long calico 2/0 huge streamer.
So when that thing's being pulled through the fish's zone, that fish, oh look at it, did eat it. That fish is basically does not want whatever that is in its territory. Whether it's hungry or not, it's going to go after it. Midges are a little different. The fish are keying in on colors, on the depth they're at. The trout are just kind of cruising around at a certain depth, and they're looking for naturals and keying in on the colors, the way the light's coming through the water, the time of day, things like that. So I'm just trying to change little things to do what we all do, try to increase our chances to catch more fish.
Catch more fish is always a good thing. So, with that, I would want to thank Todd for coming out and talking about how he likes to fish the midges and showing some of his colors. And I know that this winter time, there's a local lake that usually does a good job here producing some pretty good fish on midges. So I think you might find Todd there in his tube. So with that, thank you, Todd, for coming out.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And you know what? That's going to be the end right now for SoCalFlyTying on the Vise. So look me up on Facebook at SoCalFlyTying, and also on my YouTube channel at SoCalFlyTying. Thanks.